that 74 Coupe de Ville, with the power seats, leather, wood on my wheel. One-touch sunroof, but leave it alone. Hoes see it, can't believe it's going back on its own. Ooh, shoot. That's how we do it, baby. Every day like this, 7 days. I'll tell you, 365. Winter, spring, and fall, and the summer we ride. You acting like you never seen it before. Like them country boys ain't got no dough. Girl, please, get out. But don't you slam that door. Dust your shoes off before you touch that floor. 'Cause you want to put your feet on my rug, don't you? You really want to put your feet on my rug, don't you? You're in a hurry. Slow down, and I might let you touch it. You ain't from Russia, so girl, why you rushing? She want my pimp juice. Hey, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Tap 2 podcast. I am Steven, and you can find this podcast every Wednesday on YouTube, and you can also get in contact with me at tap2productions@gmail.com, and also you can tweet me at tap2podcast on Twitter. Tweet on Twitter. To be honest with you, I never had a Twitter account before. Like, legitimately, I've made one, but I didn't care about it, so I never fooled with it. I never even done any tweeting. That's a tweedly-deedly-deet. I'm stalling for time. I don't really know how to start this episode, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of meat to the episode that I want to get to, and I don't really know how to start it, and I really want to take a drink of this water because my throat is very dry. So if you'll excuse me. That's some good water. Anyway, so first of all, let's get to what we like to get to every day from Pojo.com. I'm sure all through the week you guys are going there, getting your magic card of the day. And if you were to go there today, Pojo.com /magic / a lot of other things, you're going to see that Jetting Glasscat is a 4/4 for 6 blue creature. It's a spirit, and let's see, it has flying, and it says whenever Jetting Glasscat, that's hard to say, becomes the target of a spell or ability for the first time each turn, counter that spell or ability. And then the flavor text is, the boat struck with a flash, and there was a terrible sound as of a glass shattering, but the creature was unarmed. I like the flavor text when it's a little funny, but that one seemed a little more serious, and so I know he got goosebumps from that great British accent. But just a little bit on blue decks. Can you guys make one? I cannot. I've told you before, I'm not that great at Magic, but blue decks just kind of confound me. They don't confuse me. I completely understand what you're supposed to do with them, but I just don't understand. I think I do understand how to make one, but I'm just not able to. I've tried many times. I've even gotten advice from really good Magic players. It just don't work out for me. So I just kind of gave up on blue deck, but I really, really, really do love blue because I've been destroyed by several blue decks, and it seems like people that can make them really, really can do some good work with that. And honestly, Jace is kind of my favorite Planeswalker, and that's probably because he's got the coolest name. The coolest looking Planeswalker in my opinion, and I don't know her name. She's got fire for hair, and she's got those steampunk goggles. She looks pretty cool. I like steampunk stuff. Anyway, so what I want to get into today is I want you guys to think of something. Close your eyes and just think. Think way back to your childhood. Think way back to your teenageryhood if you've made it there this far. And even think back last week. What are your top 3 favorite games of all time? That don't mean they're the top 3 best games of all time. that's just you personally. What are your top 3 favorite games of all time? I thought about this because E3's now. I'm recording this on Tuesday night after all the press conferences are pretty much over. Now there's a lot of exclusive demos and stuff. Just I've been watching a lot of the coverage on IGN when I've had a break at work. And shout out to all the GameStops that are breaking the rules and streaming IGN's coverage of E3. I am very happy you did that. Thank you. Anyway, I hope certain people don't listen to this. I'd hate to get anybody fired. But anyway, shout out to you guys. So, E3 is going on right now, but all the big reveals are pretty much done. They might throw something else out there. And I'm not even going to try to be a source of news for you people. That is just that's insulting to your intelligence that I could ever give you the news of video games or anything cool. I'm so late to everything. I've got one particular friend that if I'm supposed to be if a thing happens at, let's say, 2 o'clock, he tells me it's supposed to start at 1 so that I'll show up on time. I'm late to the party on everything, including pop culture stuff, and even the stuff I love the best in video games. Excuse me. Even that stuff, I always hear about it late. I seem to be the last person to hear about it. But this E3, I've kind of kept up with it. So, but still, not trying to break any news for you. Just trying to give you a few topics to think about. Trying to give you a few topics to talk about. Maybe tweet me your thoughts on this. What are your 3 favorite games of all time? And that may change in the future. Mine have changed over the years, but this right here, my top 3. Number 1, in this order. Number 1, Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. And to you people that are around, that are 30 years old and older, if you say, with very few exceptions, if you tell me that you love The Wind Waker as soon as it came out and blah blah blah, you're full of crap, because most people hated the game. Me and some of my friends, not all of them now, some of my friends, we really loved the game. And I'm not trying to be some hipster douchebag that was like, I thought it was awesome before it was cool. But yes, I did think it was awesome before it was cool. The Wind Waker is my favorite Legend of Zelda game of all time, and is my favorite game of all time. Number 2, Ico. I started playing that game at just a really interesting time in my life. It was as I was graduating high school. I had a full-time job while I was still in high school. I was deciding what to do with my life, and something about playing Ico really just resonated with me. And it might not be the second greatest game of all time, but to me, it is the second greatest game of all time. It rivals The Wind Waker for me. It's just that good. And number 3, I'm sure number 3 for me is probably on a couple of different people's lists. Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. I know, it's 2 Zelda games, but that's the kind of games I like. I love action-adventure games. Not to put myself down, I just find that I'm not great at certain games. I'm not great at fighting games. I suck at racing games. And MMOs, I enjoy them, but I don't want to put the time in. But something about an action-adventure game like The Legend of Zelda, in particular, I suppose The Legend of Zelda, it just works for me. And while they don't take an abhorrent amount of skill to be able to play, they too take patience, and they take a willingness to try. And that's what I got when it comes to The Legend of Zelda. I have to work on the patience sometimes, but enthusiasm is what I got in spades. And I'm willing to look around every corner for every bottle, talk to every villager in Kakariko Village, no matter how many times that village gets burned down and built back up. I'm willing to talk to those people, even though they're douchebags to you most of the time. Anyway, those are my top 3 favorite games of all time. Now, I won't go into much more of that, but I say all that to say, oh my lord, I'm so happy The Last Guardian is finally coming out on October 25th of the year of our Lord 2016. I'm finally going to be. I'm going to schedule myself off work for 2 days because I'm going to play and beat that game, and it's going to be just absolutely wonderful. May even get a babysitter for my son because I'm just so excited to play that game. And I'll tell you why I'm excited. It's not just the 10-year development span. It's not just the fact that I had a reserve for that stinking game back in like 2007 at GameStop. I wish that I had left my reserve just to see what would happen at this point, but I just went and reserved it again today for the second time, and this time it's actually going to come out. I'm so excited. I realize that that's a lot of rambling, but stay with me. It will not pay off, I promise you, but stay with me anyway. So the reason I'm so excited is because the story. Again, I know Ico's probably not the greatest game of all time, and it don't really have much of a story to say, not much of a story to speak of, but it's just so dense. If you look at that world and you try to think without anybody in that game telling you a story, you just look at every nook and cranny, you look at every statue, you look at what those black shadow liquidy looking monsters are. You look at the dark queen that's trying to take her daughter and take over her body so that she can live on. You look at the boy with the horns, the cursed. He's cursed, and he has those horns, and his village sacrifices cursed boys to that queen. And you know what? The game don't actually tell you that. You gotta read it in the booklet. It's very old school that way, like the original Legend of Zelda that told you all this big backstory. Really painted this huge grand story that the game really don't tell you about. It's back in the day when I mean I don't know. It's just really interesting to me to try to piece together something like that. So, well, anyway, so I love trying to piece together the storyline of Ico. So, fast forward a few years, Shadow of the Colossus comes out. Now, Shadow of the Colossus isn't in my top 3 favorite games of all times, but it is definitely in the top 10. It's probably number 4 or number 5, but I don't know. Anyway, Shadow of the Colossus comes out by the makers of Ico, by Team Ico, whatever you want to say. I know in Japanese, but anyway. So Shadow of the Colossus comes out, and it's this same kind of story. It just gives you this little nugget of information. It gives you, if you're willing to pay attention, gives you this rich world that is just a great story. It's about a boy and his horse, and he's trying to resurrect this girl that he loves. You don't know if that girl's his wife. You don't know if that girl's his girlfriend, his fiance. You don't know if that girl is his sister. Heck, she could be his mom for all we know. It could be some girl he just met on the road that just died. We don't know. All we know is this boy is trying to save her life, and he takes down, is it 16? I think it's like 13 or 16 colossi, I think you say. And the gameplay, I mean, forget about the gameplay because it's amazing anyway, but the story is what I really give a crap about there. So you get to the very end. I got to the very end of that, and all during the game you see little things that kind of remind you of Ico. And you're in a castle. The guy has this poncho looking thing on that's similar to the kid in Ico. Everything you could call the art style just coincidental just because it's by the same team. But then at the very end of the game, the guy gets turned into a baby, which I know it sounds weird if you've never played the game, but just go with me. The guy gets turned into a baby, and that baby has horns, and it blew my freaking mind. The brains exploded out the back of my head and messed the wall up. And then the girl gets up because she got resurrected, and she picks up the baby and travels to the top of that castle or shrine or whatever it is. And it's, I don't know. It don't tell you anything of what it means. It don't tell you anything, and it's wonderful. It's so confusing, and it's so confusing, and it's just so frustrating that it don't tell you what on earth's going on. It's so open to interpretation, and I'll tell you what I think my interpretation is. A small bit of it, because I've thought about this for like 12, 13 years. It's been a long time. Okay, so that stuff happens. So that boy's sister or wife or girlfriend or whatever, she dies. He goes to this ancient land to seek the power of this demon, and the demon says, "Hey, I'll bring her back to life, but I need my full power back. All you gotta do is kill these 16 colossi that hold my individual pieces of power, and when you kill them, my power is released. I'll get my full power back, and it'll all be cool, and I'll bring her back to life." And he's so just stricken with grief that he's willing to believe it. So blah blah blah, the game happens, and then at the end, the demon does resurrect the girl, but he takes over control of the dude's body, of the boy. They call him the Wanderer. He don't even have a name. He's just called the Wanderer. So he takes over the Wanderer's body, and this demon has these big horns. And when this priest figured out what this guy was going to do, and he goes and he vanquishes the demon, he banishes him, and the way it does that is it rips the demon from the Wanderer's body, and then for some strange reason, I guess the Wanderer is reborn because he wasn't evil. I don't know. Anyway, the baby has horns, like it's a curse. So I think that's where the curse from Ico originated. It's not even like they have a Hyrule Historia for this game series. It's just people trying to figure out the story. So personally, I believe that Shadow of the Colossus is a prequel to Ico. And also, I believe that because the HD remaster of both games for the PlayStation 3. Okay, so you load up the game, put the disc in, you load up the game, and there's a selection screen, right? So the selection screen, you flip to the left, and you play Shadow of the Colossus. You flip to the right, and everything moves really fast. And then there's the selection screen for Ico. Now, Shadow of the Colossus has like a colossus on it, like a vague shape of a colossus from the game. And then you sweep you sweep everything to the left, and it's the tower from Ico. But if you keep going back and forth, I told you I've thought about this a lot. So you keep going back and forth really fast, and it holds that sweeping motion in kind of a hold position. And in the dead center, there's a tower. Now, I'm probably just thinking too much into this, but I believe that tower is representative of the Last Guardian. I think that's the tower that all this is going to take place in. Now, I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know what's going to happen. The reason I've been so excited for the Last Guardian for so many years, even though it's hurt me so bad by waiting on it, it's like a bad girlfriend. You just keep going back to her, even though you know it's going to hurt you, it break your heart, saying it's going to leave you again. But the reason why I've stuck with it so much is I really believe that the Last Guardian is going to bridge the gap and just help me understand somehow how Shadow of the Colossus goes and gets to Ico. I don't know how it's going to happen. I have my theories, but they are far too long and convoluted for me to put in a 30-minute podcast. So I'll just leave my fan theories at that and say I'm so excited, and I know a lot of people are excited about it. And it's probably for a very similar reason. I feel like I don't want another game. I don't want them to make another game because I don't want any more questions. I would love a fourth game in the series, but I don't want to have any more questions answered. I would love for for The Last Guardian to be the last entry into that series and just bridge that gap between those two games. Now, when that game comes out on the 25th of October, I may be sorely disappointed in my own brain because I am probably 100% wrong. The game has been coming out for so long that they've probably redone it so many times. As far as the story goes, they've probably rewritten the story so many times that what they originally intended just is nowhere close to what's actually coming out. But I don't give a crap. I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna play the game even if it's bad. I have rose-colored glasses on that I will not take off. I will see that game for a masterpiece. But you can have whatever opinion on it that you want. If you don't think it's a masterpiece, though, you're probably wrong. So going on to the next topic. We are talking about The Legend of Zelda, The Breath of the Wild. Well, it's not The Breath of the Wild, it's Breath of the Wild. And I'm going to say just a couple of things about it. Again, not trying to break any news. You've probably already seen the videos on YouTube or streamed IGN yourself. But how awesome is that crap? How awesome. I watched them play for 30 minutes in, I don't know, like a 100-yard squared area. And for 30 straight minutes. And there were different campsites for moblins. Dude found a pair of pants. He found a new sword. You can change weapons in it. It's just you find weapons. It really and truly feels like you're exploring Hyrule, and I ain't even going to try to guess the storyline because I know I'd be wrong. But what we do know, Link is definitely a boy. That was in contention for a little while. Link's definitely a boy in this game, and you find new armor. You can switch between the weapons you find. You can cook. That's pretty cool. You just make ingredients and turn them into potions. You make your own potions. It's awesome. And then the swords, the weapons, you just find this stuff. It's pretty awesome. And I can't say enough good things about it. You can climb everywhere. The exploration. Honestly, guys, I'm gonna buy an NX like sight unseen. I'm gonna reserve it as soon as GameStop allows. I'm gonna reserve this system, or I don't care. I'll reserve it on Amazon. I don't care where I gotta get it. I'm gonna get the NX. I'm gonna get Breath of the Wild, and I'm gonna love it. It's probably gonna kind of be like The Last Guardian, even if it's not good, and there's no way it can't be good. Even if it's not good, I'm gonna love it and say it's awesome. I love The Legend of Zelda. My first tattoo was the Hyrulean crest in between my shoulder blades. I love The Legend of Zelda. It means a lot to me. It's actually what got me into video games. Ocarina of Time, what was I? I was in the 7th grade, and it had just came out, and I was into video games because I was a nerd, but I remember saying to my friends, I was like, I want a game that don't have cheat codes in it, because at the time that was the thing. You could type a cheat code into anything, and you could just get unlimited ammo or get to the end boss at the very beginning of the game. And I was tired of that. I wanted a challenge. I said, I want a game without cheat codes, and one was like, well, you should try The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And I said, I'm gonna try that, and I've been hooked ever since. So I ain't even going to try to say any more about Zelda, because honestly, all I know about that game, all anybody knows about the game, is it's awesome looking. And it looks like the Wind Waker. It's got a cel-shaded look. A lot of people are are making the connection that it's like part 2 of the Wind Waker. I think that'd be pretty cool. Anyway, whatever. One more thing from E3. The one other thing that I thought was really interesting was God of War. Did you guys see the God of War gameplay demo thing? It's like 9 minutes, and it's in Viking. It's in a Viking setting, and this boy is his mom what the trailer seemed like anyway. Kratos is there with a big beard and a big Viking beard, and he looks like a Viking, but he's still got his shirt off. Even though it's freaking snowing, he's still got his shirt off, and you see the red tattoos, you see the ashen skin, but he's got that big black beard, and he tells the boy, I think if I heard the trailer right, that his mom, that it basically insinuates the kid's mom just died, because he insinuates that by saying that her knife is now his. Her knife is his knife now. So he gives him the knife because that was pretty much her only possession, and tells him to go use it, go kill something, go kill a deer. And long story short, it's not your classic God of War stuff, which is awesome. But the story, and nobody's ever played a God of War game for the story. It's just hack and slash and all this. But I think it's really interesting that Kratos is in a Viking setting, and I thought it was going to be just like a hard reboot. This is still Kratos, but he's got a new origin story because he's not Greek anymore. It's not a Greek story anymore. But honestly, I was watching the trailer, and it seems like, to me, again, I'm no news reporter whatsoever, but it seems like to me that Kratos don't know what to do with this boy. I don't think it's his son at all. He even asks the boy if he knows if he was taught to use a bow. I think it was the bow. Is either the bow or the knife, and the boy's like, yeah, I know how to use it. And Kratos seemed like he didn't know. He seemed like kind of a surrogate father to the kid. And as it goes along, you get to see that Kratos don't have his swords anymore. He don't have the chains attached to his forearms either. He's just got this big freaking battle axe that's very Viking of him. And he uses it with plenty of skill. But if you get a chance, go back and freeze frame a couple of shots. He's got these bandages over his arms where the chains were embedded into his skin, and right at the top, near his elbow, near the bend of his elbow, you can still see the scars from where the chains were seared into his skin. I think this is the same Kratos. I think he's just in a different land somehow, some way. Keep coming up with funky old stuff like every single, I accidentally said that. Anyway, that's a little gin and juice for you guys, for you rap fans. I think he's just some way got into this other land. Maybe when he quote unquote died at the end of the third God of War game, after the credits, his body ain't there anymore. I don't know where he went, but he went somewhere. Or maybe I'm just reading too much into it, and it's just a cool throwback to the chains, and it was a cool character design thing. But honestly, I am really excited about God of War. And there were a lot of other really cool things during the stuff that I seen at E3, like the Spider-Man trailer. That looked really good. It didn't actually say Spider-Man. It just had a picture of Spider-Man's spider. But that looked really awesome. Sucker Punch is making that, so the platforming is going to be awesome. And it's going to feel really fast. And to be honest with you, I really enjoyed IGN's coverage of the whole thing. I never get the opportunity or take the opportunity to look at anybody else's coverage of it because IGN just gives such good coverage on the whole thing. But that is my impression of E3 this year. Lots of great stuff, and even new Resident Evil, calling it Biohazard, Hideo Kojima, came out and revealed that he had more than a vague concept for a new game. Norman Reedus is going to be in it. A lot of cool stuff, but those three things just really, really, really hit home with me. And video games are awesome, and video games are some people's life. They're not as much a part of my life as they used to be, but I sure as heck do love them. And when a game comes out that I've been waiting on since high school, I'm excited. I'm just really excited. I think that the end of this year, towards the end of this year in the fall, is really gonna be a fun time, because I want to play the heck out of some Last Guardian. And then, come on guys, let's all just buy an NX. I said episode 1, let's make Nintendo great again. I'm just so dang excited about my near future of video game playing. Like I said, guys, this has been episode 3 of the Tap 2 podcast. Please hit me up at tap2productions@gmail.com. And also, if you get the chance, tweet me at tap2podcast. I always want to say .com there. I told you I'm not a big, I'm no veteran at Twitter, but I'm trying. I'm trying, because that's what you got to do. Anyway, if you got any suggestions for things you want to hear, or things you would rather me not do with this podcast every week on Wednesday, just put it in the comments below. Hey, thanks guys for listening. Have a good day.